There are a lot of video game series these days that have yearly cycles. Games like FIFA, Call of Duty will have a yearly cycle, meaning of course that the same time every year, September for FIFA, November for Call of Duty, you will have to go and fork out, 70 quid on a brand new game every 12 months. And if you're really invested into a series like I am with FIFA or now EAFC, you won't really have any option but to just pay the price. Now don't get me wrong, I know many of you will be like, well no, I have restraint, and if I decide I don't like the game, maybe I don't like what they've shown me so far, the trailers don't look particularly good, I won't buy it, or I'll wait to see what everyone else is doing. And maybe some years you don't buy it or you wait till it goes on sale, that's fine. But I'm sure the majority of us are those type of people where we're going to be like, no, I kind of need that game, and I've done it again this year. EAFC, FIFA, whatever you want to call it, it's come out and I've got it. And it's not officially out yet because it's not out till Friday, and I got the Ultimate Edition. So not only have I gone and bought the game, I've gone and bought the more expensive version of the game. And even though I don't play it that often, Call of Duty is going to be a game that I will pick up in November as well. These games I tend to pick up digitally rather than physically, even though I do like my games to be physical, because I know I'm going to be playing them constantly. So having to get up and change the discs is annoying, so I choose convenience over having the physical version. And of course, up until recently, games like Assassin's Creed have been a yearly release as well. I think they've taken a little bit of a step back. The new one, Mirage, is out very, very soon, but that has skipped a couple of years, I think. Games like Far Cry started to be yearly releases as well, but they kind of stopped it. But my point is, it's not just like FIFA and Call of Duty that do these yearly releases. There are a lot of them. So how do you cope when it comes to collecting video games and you have these yearly, almost subscriptions to pay? I mean, obviously, it's not technically a subscription, but when it comes to me personally, games like Football Manager and FIFA, and to a certain extent Call of Duty, they will release these games every year, and I will pay those prices every single year. So you can argue that it is a Amazon Prime-esque yearly subscription where you drop 80 quid on the game, and then you've got it for a year, and then when they release another one you drop another 80 quid, and it's just a reoccurring payment that I make regardless of how good the game looks, regardless of the reaction to the early adopters. I just buy it. But then of course there are games that are not on everyone's radar. They don't have yearly releases. Starfield, for example, they will be games that will come out once in a blue moon, that will drop 70, 80 quid on, and then they'll go into the collection. And then you have to buy those, as well as buying your yearly games. And there has to be a point where we say, no, I can't afford to do this. And that's kind of where I am and where I have been for a long time. I've been buying FIFA every single year. I've been buying Call of Duty every other year, probably, and also Football Manager, and those are my go-to games that I buy every year without fail. And then trying to collect video games on top is proving to be very difficult, and you may have noticed in the videos, in the series videos, that unless I have a really good deal that I've managed to pick up and I can sell on and I use a load of credit to buy games, I'm putting out a lot of budget buys. I've picked up these like 5 Xbox 360 games for a £5. Why am I spending so little on video games? It's because it's that time of year where all these games come out that I want to play and I want to buy, and I'm having to buy them because my brain won't let me not buy them. And that means my bank is empty, but I still need to make content and I still want to try and add to my collection at the same time. So I'm doing a lot of these budget buys. But if I wasn't making content, what would I be doing to my collection? I wouldn't be adding to it. I probably wouldn't have gone out and bought those Xbox games that I bought in the last episode, for example, because it would have been money that I would put towards COD or Football Manager or something. This video is essentially a big question. How do you manage to cope? Do you do what I tend to do and try and build up your collections through January to around the end of summer, August time, where, games do come out, but they don't really come out thick and fast. They are drip fed throughout those months. And then once we hit that sort of September time, that's video game season. We know that from September to around the first week of December, we can expect just weekly releases thick and fast of all those games that we want, and the yearly releases that we are essentially tied to, that we always buy regardless of how good they are. Because that's exactly how I'm managing it right now. From September to December, I am not really adding that many games to the collection. I'm only really drip feeding into it, you know, the really cheapy budget games I can get from CEX. If I manage to find an awesome deal, maybe I'll put a decent game into the collection. What I mean by decent, I mean like financially a substantial game. So anything sort of, I don't know, 30, 40 quid and above is what I would class to be a substantial game in terms of finances. But when it comes to January through to the end of August, it's a little bit more loose. I know I'm not going to have to go out and buy all these games just yet. They're at the end of the year. That's end of the year's problem. So from January to August, I'm a little bit more loose and free with my money. Not that I have a lot of it, but I will be more than willing to go into CEX and spend 20, 30 quid on a game, go out and buy a big deal, separate it all up, sell it all off, make the money back, trade it in, and then use all that credit to buy bigger and more expensive games. So how do you do it? Do you have a certain time frame within the year that you're sort of trying to work towards that you can add to your collection? Because you know at the end of the year, you're not really going to be able to add an awful lot. It does make me think that services like Game Pass and EA Play and maybe the PlayStation one, I'm not really sure, I've still not looked at that, are the way to go when it comes to new releases. You know, if you had Game Pass, for example, you wouldn't have to go out and buy Starfield because it's there. Day one, you can play it, as well as a few other, or a large number of other games, and you do have that back catalogue as well if you want it, and it's there for your convenience. But you do get a lot of the new releases there. When it comes to EA Play, they're not as good. It's a really frustrating service, EA Play, because on the PC, it's much better because they offer an EA Play Pro service, which they don't on consoles as far as I'm aware. They really should, because it is a phenomenally good service, and I would love it if they could maybe merge with Game Pass, for example, and offer it under one price. But the EA Play Pro service allows you to play EA games day one unrestricted. So EA Play, bog standard, which is $3.99 a month, allows you to play a 10-hour trial. So for example, EAFC would be on a 10-hour trial. I could play that when the ultimate version comes out, and then once my 10 hours are up, I'm screwed. You know, I'm going to have to go buy the game. But EA Play Pro, which is $14.99 a month, which isn't cheap, granted. I think it's about £90 for the year. So you do save an awful lot if you do it in a yearly subscription. But that means that when the Ultimate Edition comes out, which is a week before the official release, if you're still with me, I can play it full and unrestricted. What happens when the full game comes out? Nothing. I continue to play it. I have the Ultimate Edition. And it's not just FIFA or EAFC in this case. You also get Need for Speed and any other EA title that they release. You will get it day one. Unlimited, unrestricted for that $14.99 a month. I think that's a phenomenal service that EA are offering. It is a little bit on the expensive side. However, because it's only £90 for the year, if you think how much an Ultimate Edition of EAFC would cost you anyway, it's 90 quid. So if you're going to buy that and you're on PC, you get EA Play Pro, and that's it. You've got EAFC, which you were going to buy for 90 quid anyway. But then in addition, you have all the other EA games that they want to release. Golf, hockey, Madden, anything that comes out on PC. That is a bit of a problem, because when I said hockey just then, I don't actually think that comes out on PC. Madden does, so if you want to play that game, you can, and it's a part of the service. And that's what I really like about EA Play Pro. Even though I used to play an awful lot of games on PC, I don't really do that anymore. My PC has fallen way behind in what it's capable of doing these days, and I bought EA Play Pro to play EAFC in order to record content, and I couldn't really do it that well. It wasn't smooth enough. I had to drop the settings all the way down. I had to drop the recording settings all the way down, and even then it was struggling, so I gave up. I paid 15 quid just to get it early, to be able to play it and record it, and it just didn't work. So I then had to just go over to the PS5 and get myself a capture card as well. So unfortunately, I can't really play that many games on my PC anymore unless I upgrade my PC. But if you're willing to do that and you have a gaming PC, that's, in my opinion anyway, definitely the best way to do it. But on top of that, you do get a discount on your Game Pass. So your Xbox Game Pass, if you have just PC only and you're willing to play all your games on PC, you get it at a much discounted rate than what you would do if you had the console version, to the best of my knowledge anyway. So if you get EA Play Pro and you have the Game Pass on PC and you sort of mix those two, you're going to get a lot of new releases. And I guess that is a very affordable, I say affordable way, it's a more affordable way to do it than it would be to just go and buy every single brand new game that comes out, because that is going to get very expensive. So I suppose that is one way you could kind of do it, but if you're not on PC, it's going to cost you a lot more. EA Play Pro doesn't exist on console, and then you are paying that much more of a price for Game Pass. I say much more, you're still paying for Game Pass, and not every new release is on Game Pass. Call of Duty, for example, at the moment anyway, isn't on Game Pass as far as I'm aware, so, or day one anyway, so you are going to have to go and spend 70, 80 quid or whatever it is on that game. It's an expensive hobby, very expensive hobby, and the majority of us don't have a massive disposable income, and that's why I run the series where I try and build a video game collection with no money out of pocket. The problem is, of course, is that it doesn't always go according to plan. The more work you put in, generally speaking, the more you're going to get out of it, but if you don't have an awful lot of time to put into trying to source things to buy and sell, which I'm not really doing too much at the moment, then yeah, it can be a very difficult and expensive hobby that you may have to dig deep for. So how do you do it? How do you keep up with new releases and older games, adding them to your collection and so on and so forth? Or do you maybe not play new games and you're only interested in the older retro stuff? And if that's the case, then obviously it's going to be a much more, not affordable, but an easier thing to manage. In the next video, I will continue the cliffhanger from the last video. If you want to check out that video, you can click here. And until the next time, goodbye.